I've just converted two of my analog cars to digital, putting the little digital chip into them. The first one I did by actually cutting out very carefully the shape of the chip in the bottom, which was a pain basically. The second one, I thought, well, and I glued that bit in, so it's not going to come out again. So the second one, I thought, well, it's ridiculous cutting out all that plastic just to get that little sensor to poke through a little bit. So the second one, I just made one little hole to poke the LED or sensor or whatever that is through the bottom of the car and glued it from the other side. And that one works fine. So I'm going to go through doing that, changing one of these little things. And because when you get one of these, you don't get the plug and you don't get the wiring, so you've got to do it yourself. On a digital car or digital ready car, the little plug is already soldered in and things like that. The only thing I noticed between the two is that the digital car appears to have another little suppressor down onto the contact there. What I've done is to take, I've got some old scrap cars, and every car has got a suppressor on the motor, so just take the suppressor off the motor and use it at the front. Digital cars tend to have two suppressors. They appear to have this little seems to be a little ferrite core, probably more to do with the suppression, but I haven't got any of those, and just putting that other little suppressor on the front, they're working fine. So I'll go through that. So this is the car. This is the car, just a standard Hornby car with, I've already taken the screws out, with nothing in it, one little suppressor on the motor. I've already cut the wires roughly in the middle. You want to cut the wires, leave enough for the movement at the front, and the chip is going to go in that position there. I'll solder these two wires onto the suppressor off another car, and solder the two wires of the suppressor down onto the contacts of the on the chip, and then the other two on here. And we can go through that when we look at the connections on this. You can see that the two from the front go to the right hand side and the second one, and the two from the motor go to the left hand side and the second one across this way. We don't need this plastic bit. That's my thing. So let's try and get this in. Here was the frame. There we go. So we're going to just cut this plastic bit off. And that just leaves us, leaves us with a chip with a little, well, looks like an LED, but I'm not sure. I think it's some sort of sender. Anyway, that's all we got to do is poke that through the bottom of the car, and then put a nice big blob of hot glue inside the car, push this into the hot glue until that is roughly in the place you think you need it, leave it to set, and then we're ready to connect. I found it very much easier to do the soldering onto the onto this little pins by cutting away I hope this is getting in the frame. Do it the other way. Missed. There we go. Cutting away those two sides so that I can tin those individual connections and solder the wires on. Yeah. So the wires are cut on this already. Can move them out of the way. All we need to do is push a little hole. You can drill it or whatever. I found it's quite easy just to take the soldering iron and just zonk a little hole, and then clean my soldering iron up after. Just need to, well, it doesn't matter on this side because there's going to be a big blob of hot glue there, but on the underside need to take a knife and just clean off the plastic that's melted out with the soldering iron. There we go. So take us glue gun. This is all still in frame. Go that way a bit. So we're going to put a nice big blob of hot glue there. Take our chip and pop it there and just leave it sticking out, that it would be similar to how the chip would be if you put in a chip screwed into the bottom of it. Then we've got to just let that harden. We're going to clean the ends off of the wires. Let's see where we are. Yep. So I use these automatic. Oh, get in the right slot. So you don't pull on the wires too hard. Let's do that, hold it by hand. Okay. So out of the scrap box, I've got some old motors. I can then just take this little suppressor off, and we can use that. Here we take this suppressor off. Okay. The tricky bit is that you need to connect this wire to this and then have it that you can solder it onto there without that wire falling off. Wrap that wire around that leg, solder that on. This is in the way, the camera's in the way, unfortunately. Come on. There we go. Oh, bloody hell, that's hot. Okay. We'll do the same with the other one, and then when we're soldering down the bottom, it won't dislodge that. The second one. Come run. There we go. Then we've got to just carefully tin quickly these little connections. Not putting too much heat on them. Now I've noticed on the existing one that looking at the front of the car, the left hand one, this yellow one, is going to the second connection, and the right hand one is going to the last connection on this end. See that? Presumably, so you're all going the same way around the track. I've only been lucky, I think, with the other two, connecting up this second wire, because let's do that with the pliers. Been lucky with these second two, but connecting up this second wire, didn't really know which one it needed to go on. So if the car goes the wrong way, just got to take these off and change them round. Oh. Okay. Right. Make sure we got a bit of play here. Yeah, too bad. We'll go and try it out. Just a little footnote, I actually made a mistake with the setting of the chip. Where is it? The little sensor really just wants to be a tiny little pimple, that's all, in the bottom. I think it only needs to show its face through. I had it sticking down too far, it was hitting the track, so I had to just ease the glue off and put a bit more glue underneath and just set it a little bit finer, and it's fine now. So there we go. We turned a fairly run-of-the-mill analogue car into a digital car with only use of a hot glue gun, soldering iron, usual tools, clippers and things like that, and one little suppressor, which I'm not even sure it needs, but I had one, so I'll put it on. So there you go.